What it do, golf fans? Welcome back to the Turn Dogs Golf Podcast. This is Liam. Alongside me is Jack. Jack, we had it was a solid week in golf. I mean, Hideki pulling out the win at the Century after we commented that we loved him this week at the Sony on last week's podcast, which I thought was pretty funny. Overall thoughts on the week?
Well, I first want to start off by saying thank you to you all. I received an email to start my day that said we are the 15th ranked golf podcast in the world. So, for everybody that's tuned in all across golf claps, thank you. Hopefully, we won you some money over the course of time, and hopefully, for the love of everything that is holy, you ignored everything I said last week. But always an incredible week. That's a bucket list golf course of mine. When I get married, and that's where I'm going on my honeymoon. So that is exactly where I'm going to play all day, every day, and spend copious amounts of money on merch and everything in between. But in terms of the watching, it was awesome. But for me, I need golf to be competitive when it comes down to the 60th hole. And Hideki Matsuyama was a rock star. So you can't get mad at him. He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to point out, leave it to Jack to talk about, hey, if and when I go on a honeymoon, who cares about my wife? They'll figure it out, but I'm going to go golfing. That's a priority after all.
That was personally is not surprised by that statement.
Well, which is true. It's just funny that you say it out loud on a podcast for people to listen to, because now everybody else will also understand that as well.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, Jack kind of highlighted it. Hideki Matsuyama, 35 under?
35 under, career record on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, career record, which is crazy. Colin Morikawa, I think, was 4 back at 31 under, and then Sung Jae Im was, I don't know, what was he, 26-ish under? One of those. So the point being, it was really only technically a 2-horse race, realistically a 1-horse race. Hideki Matsuyama's winning that thing the whole way. Any highlights stand out to you, or lowlights stand out to you in the past week?
My bets. Justin Thomas, screw you for making a triple on like your third hole of the day, and we'll get into that. I wouldn't say there's any highlights or lowlights for me personally in terms of what we do in terms of gambling. The Hawaii swing for me is really getting my eyeballs on some of these guys for the first time.
Yep.
And first time, I mean, of the year, because most of them either stopped at the Tour Championship or maybe played the Zozo, and maybe a couple of them played like the Black Desert Championship or Sanderson or something along those lines. But for me, these first two events, which I regret doing so much money on Justin Thomas, but it's more so getting my eyeballs on it. So next week, even though Scotty Scheffler just withdrew already, probably the smart play, we're going to have some good bets next week too.
No, I agree with you on that one. A couple of highlights that I noticed on my end. Tom Hoagie is still a really good golfer. That was really nice at a cheap price. I think he was top 10. Sung Jae Im was always a bit of a question mark for me because I think last year he was just really not in good form. So for him to come out and finish third place, it's a good sign for the year. There's a couple other guys that kind of surprised me. I'll go through some of this here though. Some of the low-price golfers that Jack and I were all over this past week. Jack, I know you probably have more. I didn't remember yours because you didn't write them down. Tom Hoagie finished T8. Robert McIntyre, who we talked about, finished T15. Max Grazerman finished T24, which you could argue is not like that crazy, but he was pretty low-priced. And you take a T24 based on how some of the bigger names in the field finished, not named Hideki and Colin Morikawa, and maybe Oper. But those were some of the low-price guys we were all over. Some of the misses were Aaron Rock.
Let me talk about my guy, Cam Young. Even though he wasn't like 5K on DraftKings or anything like that, comparatively to what he was, that guy was really low, and he finished 8th. So
I also didn't include Max Homa. He finished T26, but I think he was, 7,100 on DraftKings. You could include him there. That was my challenge this week, is that a lot of the guys that were lower priced finished like T20 to T40, which in a normal event, if you have a guy below 7,500 finishing top 40, you're static on. But in a field of 60 guys, they finished middle of the road, which is still up for some of them, but it just didn't really matter. So I just highlighted the top few guys. Some of the misses, I personally thought Aaron Rai would struggle because he is known for being an awful putter. Turns out he gained 4.5 strokes with the putter this weekend and finished T15. Live and learn. If he gains 4.5 strokes with the putter at every tournament, Aaron Rai is going to win like 3 golf tournaments this year. Just saying. And the other one, our big miss that we had was Akshay Bhatia, who finished T32. Again, not a bad miss, but just bad enough that it like stands out because I feel like he was kind of a sleeper pick for a lot of people. So that's kind of sticking out for me. Jack, are we going through DraftKings lineups and bets, or you got any other thoughts?
Well, I'm hoping you have my DraftKings lineups and bets because, as you guys can tell, I'm in a hotel once again traveling, and I have no information outside of this week. Last week, I'm relying on this kid.
Yeah, Jack is currently traveling. He's doing corporate world stuff, so I have some of his notes here. His DraftKings lineups did win money. He had Justin Thomas, Sungjae Im, Akshay Bhatia, JT Poston, Taylor Pendrith, and Seb Straka. I know Sungjae Im was third place. I know
I guess I gotta pull up my DFS now that I think about it. It's just right in front of me. Well, thank you.
Whatever. I got it. Seb Straka was about 15th. Taylor Pendrith, I know, was top 15 as well. JT Poston was somewhere in the realm of T45. Akshay Bhatia was about T30, and then JT was T26 or so. So I'm guessing, Jack, you basically snuck in bottom third or so of whatever money pools you were in, and that was, another week pushing.
Thank gosh.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, another week of pushing forward. You made money on DraftKings. It was nice. I'll go through your bets real quick, and then I'll get into my DraftKings and my bets. Jack's bets, he went 2 wins and 5 losses. The losses were Justin Thomas, top 10. He had 5 units on Justin Thomas, top 20 in round 1. He had Akshay, top 20. JT Poston, top 26. And then Akshay is the top lefty. Those are all the losses. His wins were Sungjae Im over Ludwig Gobert and Patrick Cantlay at plus 225, which he said could have been a wild card. That would have been very nice if it would have been your wild card as well. He also had Sungjae Im, top 20 at minus 165, and obviously that was a win as well. For my DraftKings lineups, I did win money. It wasn't very pretty, but I won. I had Xander Schauffele, who finished T30, Colin Morikawa, who finished second, Akshay Bhatia, T32, Max Homa, T26, Seb Straka, T15, and then Matthew Pavon, who finished T48. Would I have loved more from Pavon? Sure. In retrospect, would I probably have gone to somebody else? Absolutely. But T48 is not the worst thing on the planet, especially considering he was basically the minimum price. He was the minimum price and didn't finish bottom 10.
That's
I'm sorry. He tied Sahith Theegala this past week.
Don't even get me started. That guy looked like. Don't even get me started. That guy was warm.
Yeah, there was some comments made under my breath about how I think Sahith was just there for a vacation, maybe not necessarily a golf tournament, but regardless.
Mm-hmm.
On my bets, I did go 3-3. My losses were I had Schauffele, Cantlay, Thomas, Morikawa, and O'Bear to win versus the field. I had Adam Scott over Jason Day and Cam Davis, and I had Davis Thompson top 20. That was a tough one. And then my wins were Ludwig Gobert over Victor Hovland and Alex Noren. Noren withdrew, but it didn't matter because it still counted. I had Akshay Bhatia over Victor Hovland, which I think won by a shot because Hovland shot 2 under on Sunday and Bhatia shot 7 or 8 under. And then Colin Morikawa top 10. So overall, based on the breakdowns, I gained 0.16 units on the week.
You're rich.
Yeah, I'm just cruising through. So I'm now exactly up 9.50 units on the year. So we're just cruising through. Jack's number is in the negatives. He's about negative 6.4. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Roll up.
So he's not loving life right now. As far as winners picks go, do you have that for last week? You want me to roll through that?
I had Sungjae at third. I know that one.
Yeah, you had Sungjae, who finished third. You had JT, Justin Thomas, who finished T26. Your sleeper pick was Nick Dunlap, who finished 55th. Yeah, crushing it. I
like how that was my pick, and I listened back to the podcast on my flight because I was just curious.
I think you trash talked
I,
him too.
I trashed. I said he's gonna have a sophomore slump, and if anybody picks him this year, they're idiots. And I go out and pick him. What a dummy! Oh,
Yeah, I didn't say anything on it last week, but yeah, I was a little surprised by that for sure.
dummy.
For my winners picks, I had Xander Schauffele, who finished T30. I had Morikawa, who finished second. And then I had Davis Thompson, who finished T36. So nothing too eventful, but Jack and I did have the second and third place golfers in our winners. Not awful. For wildcard picks, Jack had two of them. He had JT Poston, top 10. That was a loss. And then he had Siwoo shaking that ass, Kim, top 10 at plus 360. That was also a loss. My wild card pick is Tom Hoagie, top 20 at plus 200. That was a win. So right now for the year on wild cards, I am 6 wins and 5 losses. Keep that in mind. All of our wild cards are at least plus 200. So if you've been following my wild cards, you're up money right now, which is great. So I would highly recommend not continuing to follow them because the likelihood that we stay in the positive on wild cards is never high. So,
And just one comment, because every single time around this year we do get an influx of new viewers. I don't suck at betting. You guys are here 6 units down and you're going to turn off the podcast. I'm up 150 units or something like that over the last 2.5 years. So patience, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, Jack, this is a bit of a strange slump for Jack, but I have no doubt that he's going to be just fine when it comes to the turn. Last year I had a similar problem, but I was down about 18 units at this point, maybe 17. And I did end up finishing in the positive. I have a gut feeling Jack will turn it around quicker than I was able to, for sure.
I can hope so.
Well, yeah, if not, you're going to be in for a bit of a rough stretch. So with that, Jack, that is the Century. We will now move on to the Sony Open at YLI Country Club.
Yeah. First of all, it's Wailea, but second off, what?
I'm pretty sure it's YLI.
I've been there.
Okay, all right, Wailea. All right, well, whatever.
Second off, the last year that there will ever be a Monday qual for this event, which is just depressing.
Some highlights on this course. It is a par 70 totaling 7,100 yards. Jack, who won last year?
The late Grayson Murray, rest in peace.
Got it. One of the most interesting things about YLI is actually the driving distance has almost zero correlation on the outcome of this tournament. Guys that usually win here have won by accuracy and irons as well as green play more than anything else. Some guys that have won here that kind of reiterate that include Webb Simpson and Kevin Kisner. Is Jack and I make the joke all the time, Kisner does not win on long courses where he's got to get tons of driving distance. So obviously keep that in mind. Driving accuracy is actually the most correlated stat on this course, followed closely by putting. And then some of the best course history guys in this field include Corey Connors, Chris Kirk, Russell Henley, Matt Kuchar, Daniel Berger, Keith Mitchell, and Siwoo Kim. So you will notice that actually on 17 of the 18 holes, the accuracy is more important. Technically, the 18th hole, which is a par 5, it's about 550-ish yards, does actually benefit the distance hitters. So that's not entirely true that it's all driving accuracy. But for 17 of the 18 holes, it's about the driving accuracy. So at that point here, we're just going to take the driving accuracy into effect. But that will be a major factor in my lineups this week. With that, let's jump into DraftKings pricing. A bit of a funky setup on the DraftKings pricing. I think last week I made a comment to Jack that no matter what, Hideki Matsuyama was going to be a top 3 price point in this range. Jack may have said some expletives on how I was way wrong. But needless to say, Hideki Matsuyama leads the top, especially after that win, at 11,000.
I did say that. I said, I don't know what I was like. I don't know what field I was looking at, but if I knew that Corey Connors and Russell Henley were going to soon follow that Hideki Matsuyama, I probably would have changed my answer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So we do have Hideki Matsuyama and Corey Connors to start. Do you want me to go through my notes on the two of those guys?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay. So Hideki Matsuyama, he gained 5.5 strokes with the putter last week at the Century, which is the most he had gained in his last 17 starts. And if he can do anything close to that this week, I really like his chances to win the golf tournament. I don't think he will. Admittedly, I think his putter will come back to earth slightly. He does have a bit of a mixed bag, actually, when you look at his history here. His finishes are basically T30, T48, winner, T19, T12, T55, and then T27. So he's kind of scattered all across the board. He might win, he might finish T40. You really don't know. And he has lost with his putter at every appearance here outside of his winning year in 2022. I think he's a solid choice. But it's going to really be tough to rely on him going back to back. I also think a lot of the casual golfers will see that he won last week. They're going to immediately be like, I see Hideki, he's the top, click, and done. So I almost would avoid him just for that sake. But I understand if you want to go back to him because, again, he's going to be in good form. The other option is Corey Connors. In his last three individual events, he has a T7, a T6, and a T5. And additionally, he's coming off one of his best putting performances of his career at the Century, where he gained about 7.5 strokes putting. One thing to note, there is actually no golf course statistically on the PGA Tour that Corey Connors puts better at than here at YLI. He has finishes here of T57, T12, 11, T12, and T3 in his last 5 starts, and he's gained strokes putting at all of them except the T57 where he broke even. So, needless to say, I like Corey Connors more than Hideki, just based on the fact that I think Hideki is going to be very popular. I don't know if you need either of them. I know, I said a lot there.
I agree, and the only reason I say that, and it's very controversial, is because obviously Hideki just won, and if you remember from a couple years ago, he hit the best 3-wood shot that I've ever seen with my eyeballs in life. That was the best shot. Outside of that, I know you mentioned he just hasn't performed. He had 30 and like almost 50th place here. And he's probably recovering from the worst hangover of his life outside of winning the Masters. And you're in Hawaii. Now, granted, this is like a quick trip, so it's like a drive over, not really. But Hideki looked as good as I've ever seen Hideki, which is amazing. So you can't necessarily disprove him. Corey Connors, though, I think is going to be sneaky, and I really like him this week. Not to dispute what you said, but in terms of the ball striker that Corey Connors really is, if he can put himself in those spots where the putter really takes itself out of play, I think he can surpass this DFS pricing. But it's really going to be dependent on where he puts himself because, granted, it's still going to go hit or miss on the putting. Everywhere in terms of his game comparatively from this event specifically, in 24 rounds, he's gained 36.7 strokes gained comparatively to the field and only 0.27 with the putter. So it's going to be dependent on his, approach game and obviously completing those putts. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on the line.
No, it's going to be a tough one, but again, I think I'd start with Corey. I also understand if you don't go with either of them because there are some good options in this 9K range. Let's get into them now. We're starting with Russell Henley at 9,900 all the way down to Siwoo Kim at 9,000. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think for me, and sorry everybody, I forgot my computer, so I'm looking at my phone. Russell Henley obviously is one of those guys that dominates in this field. Russell Henley, I say this in like the best way possible. For me, I love boring golfers. That's why Patrick Cantlay is exciting. Old school Bryson DeChambeau, I always talk about him at the USAM, is spectacular. And I think this is an event he can really shine at. One thing to note, Benny On. Benny On is in this, and I got to pull up my notes on him.
By the way, I put one note on Russell Henley. I put safe AF option. That's my only note on Russell Henley. I'm like, if you want a safe, viable option, he did win here in 2013. He's got good finishes of T4, T31, second, 11th, and a miscut. He's a very safe option. Sorry, continue about Benny On.
No, you're good. Benny On, I think really, he had a really good stretch, and then much like Sam Burns and Sepp Straka we talked about, just randomly came out for like 100th place or whatnot. Last time he started was at the Genesis and did win. And his scoring average has looked absolutely incredible over the last 15 weeks of golf outside of the Travelers where he missed the cut in the U.S. Open. He also has 2 starts here where he's finished 2-12 with an average finishing place in the 7. So I think if you're going to go in this, especially if you look down the bottom of the barrel at this field, this is probably one that you can go to.
No, I don't blame you. Benny On's definitely an interesting option. I like a lot of these guys in this 9K range. Maybe Keegan's a scary one to worry about, especially now that he's a Ryder Cup captain, and Thagala because he's just not in form right now. But I like a lot of the other options. Tom Kim is one that I like. Obviously, his last three individual individual finishes include a second at the Hero, miscut at the Hong Kong Open, and then a second at the Korea Championship. He has played this event one time back in 2013 or 2023. Wow, 2013, I think he was like 12 years old. In 2023, and he missed the cut with one of his worst putting performances of his professional career. He lost nearly 7 strokes putting. His irons have been really good and in recent form. I don't really foresee him losing 7 strokes here again, and I see him making a good comeback. I actually like Tom Kim this week as a good differential option. I also like Robert McIntyre at 9,300. He's quietly been having a disgustingly good fall and winter. His strokes gain numbers are greener than ever, basically since the Open Championship. In his last 8 starts, including European Tour starts, he has only lost strokes putting 2 times, and outside of that, he has gained in off the tee approach, around the green and tee to green in every metric otherwise. Just those 2 times he lost strokes putting. He's played here one time. He finished T52 and lost strokes off the tee, which is not likely to happen again. So I think Robert McIntyre will be another good option this week.
Yeah, and the last thing I have to say is if you pick Sahith Theegala this week, I question your judgment. Granted, he's probably going to go out there and finish 8th place now, and quote me on that just because it's going to happen. But it literally looked like he hated golf. Sahith, I love you. I don't know your wife personally, but it literally looked like he got into a 4-day affair with his wife, just a yelling match, and then went out and tried to play golf. So I don't know them personally. They look very happy on social media, but
are they married? I think she's still just his girlfriend.
Engaged, I think, right?
Are they engaged? All right, maybe they're engaged, but regardless, I don't know if they're married. That's for sure. But good for hopefully they are for Sahith and Juju. Good for them.
Is her name Juju?
I think her name is Juju.
That's Schuster?
Oh my god! Wow. All right, Jack, you were having a day. Clearly.
Watkins?
Yeah, there you go. All right, and into the 8K range we go. We're just gonna skip right out past that. We have JT Poston at 8,900, all the way down to Seb Straka at 8,000. Jack, thoughts on the 8K range? Gosh, I'm gonna have to title this like Juju on this beat at the Sony Open. I'm gonna have to come up with some sort of a Juju reference now for the title. It's a pop culture reference. You won't know it. It's okay.
Got it. First and foremost, Kurt Kitayama. Kurt Kitayama is falling under the radar like a millionth layer in terms of everything you've probably read or seen if you're a degenerate like me. Kurt Kitayama's last 3 finishes are 25, 9, and 5, and he's looked better each and every time. That guy is a monster ball striker. He flies under the radar in like every single category, and if you've listened to any time we talked about him last year, this guy's lightning in a bottle. He's one of those guys you can probably put in for an early, I know you can't bet this, but like early top 20 for farmers. He's one of those guys that's just incredible ball striker. I also think this is going to be a good Luke Clanton week. And you know me, I hate going to the rookies. I hate going to this where they play, he played U.S. Open, not going to score. Then you play Rocket Mortgage or JDC or Wyndham, and you're going to go to 25 under. And then you come to these events. And I don't like doing that, and I know you don't like me doing that. So for me to say Luke Clanton, it just proves that he's one of the most consistent young guys in the game of golf. And everything I've seen, I think him and once that lefty from North Carolina comes, number one college golfer in the world.
Oh, yeah.
His name, it's like Dave. Blanking on his name right now, which is embarrassing. But last but not least, Sepp Straka is going to dominate this. He is a long ball hitter. He is extremely accurate. He is a very underrated short game player. I want to say it's like Dave Hall, but I'm blanking on the name. It's bothering me like crazy. But Sepp Straka is one of the guys I'm really going to target this week.
David Ford.
David Ford, that's exactly what it is. I was close.
I had to Google it, admittedly. I don't know the college golf rankings as much.
Lefty, he's nasty. He's got a crazy action. He's got like who's the kid from Wake Forest that played in the Masters? He's got a crazy whip action with the hips. Oh my God.
You're pulling out college names. Like I paid so
No, he
much
played in the
attention.
Masters. He swings so hard. He's blonde.
Oh
Sponsored by
God.
Titleist.
I
Oh,
can think. We'll figure it out. Hold on.
anyway, he reminds me of that action.
Yeah, we'll go through and we'll game plan all that out. But we'll get there. I don't hate the Seb Straka play, but again, he's very volatile still sometimes. So that's a tough one to fully get behind. I'm going to talk about Austin Eckroat. He's been basically playing out of his mind recently. He's got 5 top 20 or better finishes in his last 7 starts. He's gained with the putter in each of those top 20s as well. His biggest challenge is that he loses strokes around the green, but that's not really much of an issue at Sony. It's generally pretty mellowed out around the green, so doesn't usually have much of a problem there for anybody as far as golfers go. He does have finishes here at Sony as well of T42 and T12, so I like the idea of getting to Austin Eckroat if you can at 8,700. I'll comment on Clanton as well because I actually like him as well this week. If you want high upside, Luke's your guy. He has 3 top 5 or better finishes in his first 8 PGA Tour starts. So the upside's definitely there. When it comes to strokes gained, he's gained in all categories every week outside of around the green, which again, I just commented with Eckroat. Doesn't really need great around the green play here at Sony. So I think he'll be all right. I talk about Davis Thompson. Wait, is Davis Thompson?
Yep.
Why do I not see? Oh, 85. I talk about every week, so I won't really go into too much detail, but he is a solid option here because he's always got great tee to green play. I don't know if this is the perfect week for him, but I'm going to throw him out there, and I definitely like him if you want to be differential. I don't think a ton of people are going to see last week and be like, I'm going to Davis Thompson. So I like that if you want to be different. And the last guy I'm going to mention is Harry Hall. He used to be a short game specialist. He's kind of changed that. He's quietly a really good tee to green player recently. But he's also gained at least 1.5 strokes with the putter in every tournament since May of 2024. That's roughly 17 tournaments he's played in where he's gained at least 1.5 strokes with the putter. He also has 4 straight T14 or better finishes and has 8 T20 or better finishes in his last 12 starts. I think he's a great option here, especially in the low 8K range. He's got finishes here at Sony of T42 and T28. He is a very dangerous pick for me, especially at 8,100. I think he could be quite fun to watch this week. So
Can't find this guy.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. We're gonna figure it out in a second here because I'm trying to remember as well. Into the 7K range we go. We got Billy Horschel at 7,900 all the way down to, oh my gosh, there's a lot of guys in this range. Gary Woodland, 7,000.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'll get mine out of the way so I can continue to research this because I'm going to go nuts. I am going to take a stab at Chris Kirk. I know it goes against everything I say and everything I bet, but Chris Kirk is such a pure ball striker. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes. And at 7,500, I always say if we can get a guy that can make the cut, I'm extremely happy with that. 7,800, if he could just play 4 rounds and finish 5 shots above whoever the last person to make the cut is, I'd be happy. He really doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's going to probably go to 13 or 14 under this event, which is going to obviously make the cut and put him in contention for like top 40. And I really love that from him. Outside of that, I also think that, where is he going? Scroll. Shout out Keith Mitchell. Oh, I just started real hard. Oh my gosh.
What's up?
Is my guy in 6K?
Could be.
Yeah, he is. Never mind. Ignore me.
Okay. Hey, I'm trying to think through your guy. I mean, I got like what? Jasper Stubbs, Neil Shipley, Sam Bennett.
Nope.
Okay, those are the ones that stuck out to me that were in the Masters. But Christo Lamprecht.
Nope.
Okay, yeah, I got nothing. You can keep searching. Then that'll be a fun one at some point in time. Jack's just gonna scream at me in the middle of while I'm talking, and he's like, "I know who it is now." I'm going to start off with one of my biggest highlights in this range, Daniel Berger at 7,500. I'm kind of excited for him this week. His driving accuracy is some of the highest in the field. One thing to note, because a lot of people might be like, Daniel Berger, he got injured and wasn't the same. You're not entirely wrong, but basically everything has changed since the start of the swing season. He had been struggling mentally prior and basically took 2 months off. But starting with the Sanderson, he has not missed a cut since and has 5 top 20s in 8 starts. One other thing on Mr. Berger Boy, he has played here 6 times and has really never finished worse than 45th. So for whatever reason, Daniel Berger seems to love playing the Sony. I think he's going to be a very good option. And again, Jack's rule of 7,500 or below, make a cut, and you got a guy that's never finished worse than 45th. So he's probably making a cut then at that point. I will talk a little bit about Mackenzie Hughes. He's 7,800. He looks good when you look at the course fit here at YLI. As far as the good irons and short, it's Wailea. I know. It's tough.
No. Gordon Sargent.
Oh, Gordon Sargent. Ah, yes, that makes sense. But no, he's got good iron and short game here, but his finishes have basically been rough when it comes to this event for Mackenzie Hughes. He's got 4 missed cuts and 6 starts, and the other 2 were top 20s. He's a dangerous play, needless to say. I will also talk about Joe Highsmith. He made basically a change to his putter and his putting grip right before the start of the swing season, and then basically had 5 top 16 finishes and 6 starts. So he started absolutely playing crazy. His putter is still his biggest weakness, but it's better than before. He also has a nearly 69% driving accuracy percentage, which will help him out this week for sure. There are actually a lot of other guys that like in this range, and I'll just highlight them all really quickly. Max McGreevy has a 72.6.
Exactly what I was looking for.
Yes, Max McGreevy has a 72.6% driving accuracy. Patrick Fishburne has a 65.9% driving accuracy. Matthew McCarty has a 69.6% driving accuracy. Mark Hubbard, who always makes tons of cuts, 64.6% driving accuracy. And he's an interesting option for multitudes of reasons, but he is a little dangerous. Michael Thorbjornsen only has a 58.1% driving accuracy. But obviously, we've seen him play before, and he has the potential to still win golf tournaments. So those are the guys I would highlight in this range. Any other thoughts, Jack? Or are we going to 6K?
Let's go to 6K because I have 2 guys I want to talk about.
All right, we got Eric Van Dreen at 6,900 all the way down to, oh my, who's in this field? Mao Matsuyama, 6,000. Boom.
Yeah. All right, number 1, Quade Cummins. Number 2.
He just wanted to say his name, and I knew you were.
No, number 2, Taylor Dixon. Number 3.
This is a mess.
I need to go to bed. Yuta Seguria. He is a guy that I really want to target. He's played 2 major events, not majors, but 2 major PGA and World Tour events. Zozo and ISPS Honda Championship. He's finished 6th and 7th accordingly with a scoring average of 67 outside of the Japanese Tour. Inside of the Japanese Tour, this guy is an absolute monster, and this event should play a lot of or closer to those coastal courses out in Japan. I think with the elevation, he should be able to take advantage of that and use his driving accuracy and actually perform a lot better than 6,200. And I promise, after those first 2 guys, I actually did research on Yuta.
Oh my gosh, Jack! I think I forgot what were the first 2 names you mentioned again? They're slipping through my.
Cummings and
Dixon.
Dixon. Oh. And Tim Whiting is here, and this guy is an absolute birdie machine. He's like Davis Riley on the World Tour. This guy is just absolutely pure. He's got 6 top 10s and 2 wins on last year. What?
The Davis Riley that just shot like 11 over and withdrew after 9 holes on Sunday at the Century.
You understand that Davis Riley was like
No, I know he was good.
Scotty Scheffler 2 years ago on the PGA.
Yeah, he was really good. I know.
That was a monster. This guy is a birdie machine, but he can also shoot 78. But that's why he's at 6,400 and not 8,400. So
that's fair. In my opinion, the safest option in this range, which is not saying very much, I think could be Matthijs Schmidt. He's got great putting statistics and is fairly accurate off the tee. He's probably my overall favorite person in this range. I would still avoid it, but again, he's made the cut here a few times. He's got a good course fit for this type of course where he does not have a ton of distance. So I think he's a viable option at 6,800. I will also talk at 6,600 about Frankie Capon. Outside of Luke Clanton, I think he's probably dangerous to win Rookie of the Year. I mean, I'm trying to think of who else could do it. I think he could be a very interesting choice. His last 3 starts were all in the Corn Ferry, but he had a T5, a first, and a T12. He's not the most accurate driver of the golf ball. He only drives it at about a 60% accuracy, but he's highlighted by some really good putting. And again, he's 6,600. I think if you just need somebody to make a cut based on putting, he's an option, but I still like Mathai Schmidt better. So, all right. With that, let's get into our lineups for the week. Jack, what do you got for your DraftKings lineups? Or do you want me to go first because you're pulling it up?
I got it right here. It's
All
on paper. Corey Connors, 10,200. I went for it. I have Russell Henley at 9,900. Ben Griffin at 8,200. Sepp Straka at 8,000. Max McGreevy at 7,200. And then Yuta Seguria at 6,200.
There you go. For my DraftKings lineup, I've got Tom Kim at 9,800, Robert McIntyre at 9,300, Austin Eckroat at 8,700, Harry Hall at 8,100, Daniel Berger at 7,500, and then Frankie Capon at 6,600.
Awesome. And this week, we actually do have a FanDuel. So Quade Cummins at...
Jeez.
FanDuel, Corey Connors at 12,100, Maverick McNeely at 10,900, Ben Griffin at 9,800, Chris Kirk at 9,800, Sepp Straka at 9,700, and then Yuta Seguria at 7,500.
Oh, you're killing me. This is going to be so fun to edit. Oh, boy. All right. For mine, I have Corey Connors at 12,100, Robert McIntyre at 10,800. Somehow I just deleted who I had at third, which is crazy to me because there we go. Harry Hall at 9,900, Michael Thor Bjornsson at 9,300, Daniel Berger at 9,200, and then Joe Highsmith at 8,600. So I'm actually quite a big fan of that lineup. So that'll be fun. On to bets. What do you got for bets?
Yes, I have 6 bets. I'll start off with 2 that have 2.25 units on the line each. It is Ben Griffin and Sepp Straka to both make the cut. They're both minus 225. If either of those guys miss the cut, I just question reality. And at those odds, I'm going to take that every single day. So 2.25 units each on those. I have Tim Whiting top 40 at plus 360. I think I'm really going to take a flyer on him and comparatively the field where a lot of these guys have not been playing. If he can go out there and just make a cut, he's got a chance for this. I also have Yuta Seguria top 40 at plus 550. I think that he is actually one of those guys I'm genuinely looking forward to. And from all the research and statistics that I've done, I think he could surpass that. And that would just be a knight in shining armor. I have Max McGreevy top 40 at plus 205. I think that is actually crazy odds. And in terms of that, I think he's probably going to finish between 30th and 50th, if you're asking me my projection. So if you're giving me 10 spots, I like that. And then Corey Connors top 30 at minus 170. I think that is probably the only safe bet that I have.
Yeah, you got a lot of flyers, that's for sure. But
yeah.
If one or two of them hit, then you're in pretty good shape this week.
Exactly. I think his ball striking is so good, and I think what we saw from him earlier was just tremendous in terms of tee to green. So as long as he can get there and that putter's fine, he's going to hit that.
No, that's fair. It's interesting you're in 6 bets. I like some of them. There's definitely some inherent risk. You can tell Jack's going to go make up some of the units that he's down.
You know what they always say about gambling? If you go down, go more aggressive.
Get more aggressive. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got yelled at last year for that, Jack, but it works. We got out, and you'll get out as well. For my bets this week, I have 6 of them. It's funny because 5 of them are minuses, but none of them are above minus 120. So I have Daniel Berger over Mackenzie Hughes at minus 110. I have Harry Hall over Ben Griffin at minus 110. I have Robert McIntyre over Taylor Pendrith at minus 120. I have Austin Eckroat over Sahith Theegala at minus 110. I have Daniel Berger, I have Harry Hall top 40 at minus 105. And then I have Daniel Berger top 40 at plus 105. So a lot of them right around even. I'm not high on Sahith Theegala, which means he's probably winning. So we'll see. That'll be interesting.
I love it.
All right, on to your wild card pick, Jack. What do you got this week?
I have Tim Whiting being the top Scandinavian at plus 575. He's got to beat Henrik Norlander, Jesper Svensson, Christopher Ventura, and Vincent Norman, who are all around the same price point in terms of all the DraftKings rankings and DFS pricing. Maybe Henrik Norlander is obviously a little higher, but everything else is right around similar or worse. And then I really think if he can get it to where I know what he can do with the golf ball, if he can get to 16 under, I don't think those other guys are even coming close. So.
No, that's fair. I had a similar idea when it came to my wild card. I have Matthias Schmidt over Steven Yeager, Thomas Rosenmiller, and Jeremy Paul. Bear in mind, Steven Yeager's pretty good at golf, but he's also one of the least accurate drivers of the golf ball on tour, and his putter is not very good usually. So I'm taking that into account based on the course. Matthias Schmidt actually rates out pretty good for the course, and then if you're telling me he's got to beat Thomas Rosenmiller and Jeremy Paul, and he's got plus 240, I don't hate those odds. So that's my wild card. Jack, do you got what, 2 winners and a wild card for your or your wild card winner, I should say?
I am going with Corey Connors. I think that this is going to be one of those events that, compared to the field, you can really take advantage of him. I know in terms of DFS, it's more of a risky play. But in terms of Corey Connors, I think there's a handful of events that you can look at him and put him in the winner spot. I think this is one of those ones where he has the ability to shine, and I'm going to take that for one of my 3 balls. Ben Griffin, I think, is also a really capable golfer, and he's one of those guys that's really, really consistent from tee to green. He doesn't really surpass top 5 in any single area, but he's not bottom 5 anywhere else.
Yeah,
obviously. And then I'm going Kurt Kitayama. It's one of the wild cards. If he can get those irons that if you guys watched him at Torrey Pines, you will know he's one of the best iron players on tour that's not taking home $10 million a week. Kurt Kitayama is going to be one of those guys to watch out for. I think he can be the breakout player of the year, if you ask me.
That's fair. For my winners, I have the 3 as well. My first winner is going to be Tom Kim. My second winner is going to be Harry Hall. I've discussed both those guys a good amount. And my wild card or lower pick is going to be Daniel Berger. I actually think, again, he could be very dangerous this week. So with that, that is the Sony Open. I'm just going to go over some highlights here as far as scheduling goes. Next week is the American Express. That will be a normal week. The following week is the Farmers. I will be traveling out of the country. So Jack might try and get something done, but if we miss you guys for the Farmers, we will be back the following week for AT&T Pebble Beach. Because I do some of the editing and stuff like that, it's going to be a little tough for Jack. I'm sure.
Unsavvy. I'm 85 at heart.
Yeah, Jack is not the most savvy person when it comes to this. He just knows a lot of information about golf. Therefore, it makes him really good for a golf podcast. So, and I say that, and Jack knows that it's not wrong and it's true.
Oh, heck yeah.
So, no. All right, but with that, we will see you next week for the Amex. We'll TBD it right now on Farmers in 2 weeks, but then we'll see you back again for sure in 3 weeks at the Pebble Beach. Last thing, we don't normally say it, and we didn't say it last week of the century. If you enjoy the podcast, like, subscribe, follow, do whatever it is based on whatever platform you're watching this. We do have it on YouTube as the Turn Dog Golf Pod. We also have it on Spotify and Apple Music as the Turn Dog Golf Pod. Jack is on Twitter and TikTok. Intermittently when he doesn't feel like bashing too much people with his golf knowledge. He doesn't want to embarrass people.
Lashley. Yeah, and by the way, screw him. All these people come at me in the comments about stuff like that. First of all, go look through them. They're disgusting. You get owned every single time about golf knowledge. Don't try me, but watch out for some stuff. I don't know if I'll get to it this week just because I'm at all-day conferences, but I'll get there.
If we don't do a podcast the week of the Farmers, we'll try and get Jack to do a video or 2 on some social media. So that way you can at least get some information out, maybe get a couple of bets or DFS lineup down.
Yeah, if I didn't have a full-time job, I'd be so much easier.
Yeah, it's almost like got to work 9 to 5 to pay the bills and take care of everything.
I wish it was 9 to 5.
I know. I'm messing. So with that, we will leave you to it. Happy, safe betting. We are back in the graces of good golf all over again, and we will see you next week at the MX. Deuces.